I'm excited.
Yeah.
I dream about stuff like this, man. You know, it kind of give me chills now coming out and everybody booing. They get me more pumped up than anything. People booing, throwing stuff, angry. That really takes the nervousness out of me.
Caliber of fighter that Errol is, just like I know the caliber fighter of Tim. I think both of them have taken a lot of damage in their career so far, but I just think, Errol skill-wise, just edge. I just wish him well. I wish him well, much respect with him in his career, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what he do in his future.
I think Errol gonna do an amazing job. I'm looking forward to him getting back in the ring. And I think he's gonna be successful in his comeback. And I picked him.
Errol Spence has explained that working alongside Terence Crawford is playing a key role in getting him ready for Tim Tszyu, making his return seem far more focused. Seeing Spence and Crawford train together already adds another layer of intrigue to the upcoming fight. Having previously faced Crawford in the ring, Spence is now able to study up close the subtle techniques that made him so effective. Being in that environment can help Spence refine his timing, improve his defense, and build the patience he'll need to handle Tsyu's pressure.
How you been?
Good. You good?
All good, man.
Yeah, you boy.
What's up, little man?
Hey, congrats. You too.
You fine, man.
Nice, bro.
Yeah.
Recent training clips show Errol Spence approaching camp with a focused mindset. He's seen running through the park, building stamina, and working hard, fully aware of the doubts surrounding him. Following the defeat to Crawford and the time away from the ring, many are questioning whether he can return to his best form. Meanwhile, Tim Tszyu has openly stated his intention to end Spence's career, but Spence appears to be preparing to challenge that narrative. If this level of dedication continues into the fight, Tszyu may not be facing a diminished version, but rather a fighter determined to re-establish himself.
He's killing me.
Terence Crawford has expressed strong belief in Errol Spence's chances of defeating Tim Tszyu. In his view, Spence still possesses the ability, knowledge, and in-ring intelligence required to overcome a difficult opponent like Tszyu.
Do you think you've said you don't think he beats Errol Spence.
Yeah, I think Spence beat him. At this point in both of their career, I think Spence beat him. I'm not the judge. I'm not the one to say, what he can and what he can't do. Me and my boy Tszyu had a little wager on if him and Spence fought each other, who will win. And I had to back Spence because that's what I believe in. But, I'm not the one fighting, so at the end of the day, I'm not the one that controls who win or lose.
What could you tell Tim, or what could you tell him about a Spence fight if he was a future opponent?
I can't tell him nothing. I just tell him good luck, train hard, and go in there and fight.
So would you say taking the Errol Spence fight, it wouldn't be the best decision for his future? Because that would arguably mean...
I think that's a good fight for both of them in right now in their careers. I think that's a great fight for both of them because it's winnable for both of them.
Crawford mentioned that he is eager to watch Spence return to the ring and believes he will deliver a strong performance in his comeback.
You confidently win that bet with Tszyu, watch Errol in the fight?
Well, I'm not, 100% confident. I just know, the caliber of fighter that Errol is, just like I know the caliber fighter of Tim. I think both of them have taken a lot of damage in their career so far, but I just think, Errol skill-wise, just edge. I just wish him well. I wish him well, much respect with him in his career, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what he do in his future.
Brian Norman offered a strong prediction about Errol Spence, stating that he believes Spence could knock Tim Tszyu out. Comments like that raised the stakes around the matchup, shifting the conversation away from a gradual return and toward the possibility of an immediate impact. Some now feel Spence has the ability to come back and deliver a defining performance right away, if he is truly focused, putting in the work, and applying lessons from his time with Crawford. Then this bout may present a greater threat to Tszyu than many are expecting.
We're definitely going to see a different version of Errol Spence. And I feel like he's going to be better than he was in the past. And what I mean by that is First round knockout coming soon. And Tim Tszyu is going to sleep, man. The boy ain't got nothing for him. What dude from Australia? My boy, he coming to Australia just to give him the work, you feel me? But back to what I was saying, I just feel like Errol Spence is going to be a great fighter just doing this thing. I seen him at camp. And hell of a...
Shakur Stevenson has expressed support for Errol Spence's return, particularly as it marks his first appearance since the bout with Terence Crawford. He has long held respect for Spence, viewing him as a fighter who embraces difficult challenges and continues to apply pressure regardless of the situation. Because of that, Shakur feels Spence has what it takes to travel to Australia and defeat Tim Tszyu on home ground. In his eyes, these circumstances are nothing unfamiliar, as Spence has consistently taken on major opponents, performed under intense conditions, and worn rivals down when the spotlight was at its highest.
Errol Spence is back. Yeah. Fighting Tim Tszyu, been on first fight since his fight with 2023 with Bud. How you feeling about that?
I think he's gonna do good. I wish Errol the best. I hope Errol go in there and beat Tim Tszyu up. I'm a Errol Spence fan. I was cool with Errol Spence, especially before that Bud fight a long time ago. He was a cool dude, so I'm with Errol Spence. I want Errol Spence to prosper.
And that fight is over in Australia too.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think I don't think Tim Tszyu could beat Errol. Like I know Errol is mentally tough. Errol is a dog when it comes to fighting. So I don't think Tim Tszyu.
Roy Jones Jr. shared that what stands out to him about Errol Spence is his decision not to take an easier route following a long break and a difficult defeat to Crawford. While many fighters would return with a low-risk opponent to regain confidence, Spence has opted to face Tim Tszyu, a dangerous and active fighter known for applying pressure. To Roy, that choice reflects the level of determination Spence still carries. He views him as someone who doesn't return to compete cautiously, but instead steps back in to challenge himself, embrace risks, and show he can still perform among the elite.
The biggest thing I gotta say that I love about Errol Spence is that Errol don't want no easy fights. Errol don't want to fight guys that are nobody.
He AKA somebody. No tune-up.
No, he don't want no tune-up. He wants challenges. You understand me? He wants challenges. And for him to challenge a person like Tim Tszyu, when Tim Tszyu has been regularly fighting for the last 3 years, he's been not doing much. That says a lot about Errol, but that tells you exactly how much fight is still left in Errol. Errol is a guy who's always coming to the party to dance. He don't have time to play no games, and you gotta love that.
Andre Ward shared a similar level of respect for Errol Spence, while also offering a measured perspective on his return. He noted that Spence has never relied on words, as his performances inside the ring define him. With constant pressure, resilience, body attacks, and a demanding pace, Spence presents a difficult challenge for any opponent. At the same time, Ward pointed out the risks involved in this comeback. Spence is now older and has spent a significant period away from competition, yet instead of easing back in, he is taking on Tim Tszyu right away. This is what makes the matchup compelling, as Spence still carries the mentality of a fighter, but must now demonstrate that his physical condition, timing, and sharpness remain at that same level.
I've always had respect for Errol Spence because he's a real fighter. You know, he's not a guy that talks a lot, but he brings a big stick to the battle. And you know, when you deal with Errol Spence, you got to bring your lunch pail because he's going to bring it and he's nothing to play with. Obviously, being 36 years of age, being off as long as he hasn't had the tune-up fights. And by the way, I need my tune-ups. Give me my tune-up.
Bozy Ennis also shared his view that a bout between Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu is likely to end inside the distance. However, he emphasized a key adjustment Spence needs to make by improving his head movement. Spence typically advances, throws in high volume, and works to wear opponents down, but that approach can leave him open to taking shots as he exchanges. Against Tszyu, that presents a risk given his strength, precision, and willingness to engage. Despite that, Bozy still believes Spence has the pressure, experience, and overall style to damage Tszyu and turn the contest into a physical battle. In his opinion, this won't be a fight decided quietly on points, and he leans toward Spence being the one to secure the stoppage.
What should he be doing?
What Spence should be doing? Spence should be Spence, man, but he must move his head, though.
Because Spence will come right at you and just throw them punches. He got to, and work on catching them shots. You know what I mean? If you ain't gonna move your head, you gotta catch some shots. You know what I mean? With your hands. You know?
Decision is stoppage. How's that fight at?
I think it's gonna be a stoppage. Somebody getting stopped. And you know I'm going with Spence, so.
Bernie the Boxer also shared his thoughts on the viral hallway interaction between Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu, where Spence chose not to shake his hand after hearing Tszyu say he would retire him. He did not view it as a major issue, explaining that this kind of pre-fight talk is expected ahead of a big matchup. From his perspective, if Tszyu is making those claims, then it is only natural for Spence to respond with his own intent to dominate him.
Did you see there's like a viral clip of him, Tim Tszyu trying to shake his hand and he's like, nah, I'm not shaking your hand. I've been hearing you talking about you're going to retire me and all that. Did you see the...
Bernie believed the back and forth was being overanalyzed, explaining that both fighters are simply doing what is expected, as that intensity helps build anticipation for the fight. He also mentioned the 158-pound weight, noting it sits closer to middleweight than junior middleweight, yet still views it as a suitable return bout for Spence. In the end, the focus remains on one thing, as fans are eager to see how Errol Spence performs when he steps back into the ring.
I'm sure he had to lose a lot of weight to make weight too, so good little fight. Can't wait to see the fight. Errol Spence carrying the torch. Everybody want to see what he gonna do. Most anticipation in a long time, so I just want to see the fight. So,
Tim Tszyu took a shot at Errol Spence by saying he attempted to show respect, but Spence chose not to respond in the same way. After Spence declined the handshake and directed comments toward him, Tszyu remained composed while still responding with a few remarks of his own. He added that references to his father do not affect him, as he views that kind of talk as a sign of insecurity.
I've been brought up with humility and respect, but I guess it doesn't work on both sides. That's fine. I see how it is. It's all good.
As you stated up there as well, he brought up your father, that you're not your father, this, that, and you said it yourself. It's been said in every single fight. Is that still something that kind of bothers people want to bring that up?
No, it doesn't bother me. It just shows their insecurity. That's all right. That's fine. What my father's done in his career, I'm super proud of, and there's nothing to be ashamed.
Tim Tszyu took a shot at Errol Spence by saying he attempted to show respect, but Spence chose not to respond in the same way. After Spence declined the handshake and directed comments toward him, Tszyu remained composed while still responding with a few remarks of his own. He added that references to his father do not affect him, as he views that kind of talk as a sign of insecurity.
So, even though I don't really understand much what he says, I don't know, maybe it's his accent or something, but yeah, I hope he brings that energy.
Speaks low in Texas, so yeah,
that's what it is?
Yeah, just
right.
low volume
Texas.
and Texas accent and everything, so
Gotcha.
yeah, it's kind of...
Usually I'm alright with the American accent, but that one's hard.
It's a little country.
It's hard to understand.
What type of fighter do you expect besides the because of the fact that he hasn't been in the ring for 3 years, and he chose this time to come back and fight you in your backyard?
Yeah, I think he's refreshed, rejuvenated. I hope he is. When he fought Terence Crawford, I felt like he looked a bit dizzy, So I don't know. So hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's at his peak. That's all right. That's what I expect.
When Tim Tszyu was questioned about a potential matchup with Errol Spence, he responded in a composed and straightforward manner. He acknowledged that high-profile fights always bring divided opinions, which is what builds excitement around them. According to him, some supporters will side with him while others will back Spence, and that contrast is part of the anticipation. He also pointed out that fighting styles play a major role in shaping those views, making a bout between them difficult to predict. From his perspective, that uncertainty is what elevates the significance of the fight, as both fighters carry serious threats. However, when Terence Crawford was mentioned, Tim did not seem confident that Crawford is currently aiming for a return to that level of competition.
Did tip Errol Spence to beat you though if you two were to fight. Do you think he'll change his mind with a great performance this weekend?
No, it's right. You need 50-50. You need people to say this guy, you need people to say this guy, and that's fine. There's certain styles people think they swing different ways. That's what makes me and Errol Spence so interesting, is that it could go either way.
You were meant to fight Terence. Well, there were talks about it previously. Gee, it'd be nice if you beat Errol Spence if he wanted to come back out of retirement, a stadium fight in Sydney.
I think he's pretty comfortable, man. I think he's pretty comfortable.
Roy Jones Jr. shared his thoughts on Errol Spence stepping back into the ring and made it clear he was pleased to see his return. He explained that fans want a fighter of Spence's level to come back rather than exit the sport after a tough moment without attempting to answer it. In his view, that response defines true competitors, as they process the setback, evaluate themselves, and then decide whether they still have more to give. He also described the comeback as well calculated, pointing out that Tim Tszyu is far from an easy choice, but instead another boxer working to rebuild after challenges of his own. That dynamic adds another layer to the fight, with both fighters entering the matchup driven to prove themselves.
Feel about the return of Errol Spence?
I'm so glad to have him back. See that he's back in boxing. The boxing world is glad to see that he came back. We all want to see him make a comeback. We don't never want to see a guy go out bad and not try to come back, because that's what boxers do. I know he took a lot of things into consideration. He even told me when he spoke to a few people about it, and that was a good thing. But I'm glad he made the conscious decision to return. And I think it's a smart return, because it's also against a guy who was on the way up there, who made it to the top, but had some struggles, and now he's on the incline trying to get back up too. So it's two guys trying to get back up. I think it's a great situation.
Andre Ward explained that the attention around Errol Spence's comeback comes from curiosity rather than doubt about his past abilities. Fans already know what Spence is capable of, but the real question is how much of that form remains. He built his reputation through steady pressure, effective body attacks, and a disciplined approach. However, returning after an extended break to face someone like Tim Tszyu presents a serious challenge. Ward emphasized that Spence has already earned respect, but now the focus shifts to factors like timing, age, sharpness, and whether he can step straight into a high-risk fight without easing back in. That is what makes this situation feel like a genuine test instead of a simple comeback appearance.
Respect this brother, because he's now with the tune-up, and you got to know who you are. If Errol knows that I can't really get up for that guy, then I can only get up for these type of guys. You gotta know.
While many are expecting Errol Spence to return in strong form, Robert Garcia sees the situation differently and favors Tim Tszyu. He believes Spence is taking a significant gamble by stepping directly into a demanding matchup following a lengthy break and his loss to Terence Crawford. From his perspective, choosing not to ease back with a lighter opponent could be a mistake, especially since Tszyu remains active, powerful, and unlikely to allow anyone time to settle in. Garcia acknowledged Spence's reputation and experience, but stressed that against Tszyu, he will need to immediately demonstrate that he still performs at his previous level.
You said yesterday, I read it all over the internet, that Errol Spence has nothing left? That he can't beat Tim Tszyu?
Yeah, if they want to switch it like that, I didn't say he can't beat Tim Tszyu.
That's what they said in the headline.
Yeah, of course, that's what the headline's gonna do to fucking.
They always do that
to
you,
make
Robert.
it look so people could tune into it.
Yeah.
No, Errol Spence was a badass, pound for pound, one of the best fighters.
3 belts, yep.
But made wrong choices. Drank too much, car accidents. I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know. I never heard anything. So a lot of times drugs get involved and shit like that. I'm not saying that's the case, but I know alcohol was. He even admitted it. Accidents. When he fought Crawford, you could tell that was not the Errol Spence we were used to seeing. And what was that, 4 years ago, 3 years?
Robert Garcia pointed out that Errol Spence's main issue is skipping a lighter return bout. He believes that following the defeat to Terence Crawford and an extended absence, Spence would have benefited from facing a less demanding opponent to regain his rhythm, confidence, and timing. Instead, he is heading straight into a matchup with Tim Tszyu, who is active, physically strong, and poses a serious threat. Because of that, Garcia sees this as a risky situation for Spence, since any signs of rust or lack of adjustment could be exploited quickly, with Tszyu unlikely to give him the space needed to find his footing.
Years later, he wants to come back to boxing. And he's not going to start off by a tune-up fight.
He doesn't do tune-ups.
That's why. That's the question. That's when I give my answer. He doesn't give tune-ups. No. I think he doesn't know what he's got left. And if he does a tune-up, he might get his ass kicked in a tune-up against a nobody, and that's gonna make him look bad. So that's what I said. That's probably what's going on, and that's probably why he took the decision to go straight into the Tim Tszyu fight. Maybe because he doesn't want to risk the tune-up fight and lose for what, a couple $100,000. He's gonna go in there for a couple $1 million and
There's
take
no
a risk.
losing in that.
He's gonna
And
make
he could
money.
win. It's 50-50.
Yeah, and if he's fresh and he's good, then he could win. Because Tim Tszyu is also kind of in that direction where he look good. I like the way he...
Keith Thurman also shared his perspective on a matchup between Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu, viewing it as a meaningful challenge on both sides. For Spence, the focus is on demonstrating that his trademark pressure, resilience, and top-tier ability are still intact after the defeat to Terence Crawford and time away from the ring. For Tszyu, it presents an opportunity to secure a win over a recognized name and confirm his status among the top level. Thurman acknowledged how effective Spence can be once he settles into his rhythm, but also highlighted Tsyu's strength, activity, and determination. This combination makes the fight a risky one, with Spence carrying the bigger profile, while Tszyu enters with momentum and a clear desire to prove himself.
He's been having some little tune-up fights. He's trying to work with new trainers and, enhance his overall ability in the ring as a boxer. So it's going to be interesting, but, we know he's vulnerable. He's been dropped a lot. He's been hit, and he's been, stopped. So both of them, have some battle scars, let's say, So for that reason, I think Tim Tszyu has the advantage of activity, and then Spence has the advantage of pedigree, right? He's been at another level. He's achieved more, even though it's at 147. I just feel like he's really done more, been in the ring with more world-class fighters, and had some victories against solid world-class fighters where Tim Tszyu has not been as victorious when the opposition really hits that A class.
Be sure to explore more of our content on the channel.